The COVID-19 pandemic continues worldwide. There have now been over 1 million deaths attributed to the virus. And in the United States, which was hit hard, 220,000 people have died now from the novel coronavirus. Many business owners have not survived the virus and had to shut down permanently across North America. To discuss this in more detail is U.S. correspondent Lisa Daftari joining me once again from L.A. Lisa, Speaker Nancy Pelosi has given the White House a 48-hour deadline for a coronavirus stimulus deal.
Yes, she's somewhat eager, she says, to push this forward. And she says this is the last opportunity, whether we push this forward before the election or we'll have to wait afterwards. So everyone's waiting with bated breath to see if this next stimulus is announced. Obviously, the markets will tank here. I know a lot of people are extremely eager and nervous about that. And depending on the news and depending on whether or not the administration and the Democrats can come to some sort of compromise, we'll see if there will be a stimulus announced.
Lisa, the Biden campaign is facing more criticism over its connections with big tech after both Facebook and Twitter censored a story from the New York Post detailing allegedly corrupt business deals by Biden's son, Hunter. Tell me more about that.
Yeah, well, Hal, it's no surprise that the mainstream media here in the United States has inserted itself once again, whether they take the side of the Democratic nominee Joe Biden or they silence the message coming out of the Trump White House. In this case, it was covering up for and hiding potential. Important emails that were relating to Joe Biden's son working and receiving a lot of money from China and getting political favors, making a large salary. And anyway, this is important information that many people were speculating about. And here we have a laptop full of emails, and the New York Post covers the story. And of course, Twitter basically blocks the tweet from going out from anybody's account. So basically, they silence the story. Again, 2 days after this incident, it was a White House advisor who's specializing on the coronavirus came out and said masks may not be effective, and his message was blocked. So it's not the job of these social media platforms to censor the information they want out. Now, obviously, we don't have a vetting system on social media. Anyone can post anything, but that goes across the board. It shouldn't be that one side gets a leg up by the social media platforms with the message from the other side being silent. So this has had a huge backlash here in the United States with those who are professional and are nonpartisan understand the damaging effects, regardless of whether it was your side or not your side. This is awful, and it is awful for our country, for our democracy, and of course for social media, for people taking social media seriously as a media platform.
A United Nations arms embargo on Iran that barred it from purchasing foreign weapons like tanks and fighter jets expired over the weekend. So, Lisa, what does this really mean for us here in the Western world?
Right. So everyone had their eyes on the October 18th expiration of the arms embargo. These are embargoes that were put on Iran from the UN, banning them from acquiring more weapons. And now, what does this mean? Well, it means that Iran is free to go on a shopping spree and to beef up its military arsenal to what it was even before the revolution. So we're talking about the highest that it's ever been, at the highest capacity that it's ever been. Now, remember, the Obama administration gave all that money to the mullahs of Iran. They have the money. They obviously have the intention. So what will they do? They will go after buying weapons, and there are state actors who will sell them those weapons, obviously, to make the deal. This is one of the other reasons why we see the Europeans being so hesitant to sanction the Iranians, to be on board with marginalizing the Iranian regime and to minimize their capability. So the U.S. has again threatened to sanction the sectors of the regime that relate to military and nuclear enhancement, hoping to at least curb or minimize what can happen after this embargo has expired.
Meanwhile, in Iran, officials there are celebrating the lifting of the UN embargo on their military. Now, Lisa, I guess that's good news for Russia and China, will most likely offer arms to Tehran, and not good news for smugglers.
Exactly right. So this is a huge economic opportunity. So actors like China and like Russia and others are looking at this like, okay, tick tock, when is this going to expire? We're ready to offer, our large menu of options to the Iranian regime. Of course, they're celebrating this. And because the US withdrew from the nuclear deal, this is yet again another slap in the face, another way for them to flex their muscles, so to speak, and to say, look, we can go forward and we will go forward.
Let's circle back to sanctions for just a moment here. U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo says even though the embargo has expired, the U.S. will in fact slap sanctions on any country that assists Iran with their weapons program, a move that will likely cause a lot of tensions between Washington and Tehran. But Lisa, aren't there already tensions there now?
Exactly, and I think that has been the foreign policy strategy of the Trump White House. It has been, we're not afraid of angering our enemies because they are our enemies. This is a huge pivot from the Obama foreign policy, which was all about appeasement and apologies, and they're our enemies. So we're just going to walk away from the situation and let them do what they need to do for fear of them being mad at us, or of them not being pleased with President Obama. This is extremely important in foreign policy to say that if you want to be the leader of the Western world, the United States wants to carry that title, well, then they need to create order in that world. And in order to do that with the Iranian regime right now, is to punish all of the other actors that will enable the Iranian regime, that will sell them weapons, that will do business with them, that will go around and circumvent international sanctions. It's extremely important that the United States not only take a firm position, but that they reinstate this position, and they are, extremely serious about this position, not allowing these, whether it's in the United States or outside the United States, to allow businesses to go forward and to do business with the Iranian regime.
Let's talk about what happened in France recently. A suspect who was shot dead by police after the gruesome beheading of a history teacher in an attack near Paris turned out to be an 18-year-old Moscow-born Chechen refugee. Lisa, police ended up arresting 9 suspects, including the teenager's grandfather, parents, and 17-year-old brother.
Yeah, talk about a family terror network. There has been, first of all, this story is so gruesome. It's so incredibly gruesome. Just when you thought you heard it all in 2020, it's incredible because I know that every country is dealing with its own coronavirus crises and the economic fallout from the pandemic and all of that. And we've become almost immune to hearing and to reacting to terrorism. But when you read about the details of this story, a history teacher just presenting cartoons of the Prophet Muhammad, and then having this network of individuals contact each other, have this guy come and literally slit his throat. He beheaded a teacher. And again, as you said, the network or the connection of these other individuals, the entities that were supporting this act. French officials have said that over 200 individuals may be deported from France as a result of this one incident. It goes to the point of France having maybe some buyer's remorse over buying into such a lax and free for all type of immigration policy for so many years, having these radicals live within their population, to have an event like this take place. I mean, it's horrific. I've been covering, terrorism for years, but when I read this story and the details of it, it is so, so, so brutal and horrific. And my heart goes out to the students of that teacher, his family, etc. And I hope that, they can really bring justice about in this case.
Absolutely. Our heart goes out to the families indeed. Now, since this incident, France is moving forward with expelling 231 radicalized foreigners after the assassination of that teacher.
Right, and it's so important that they move forward and make, both. a symbolic, kind of move, and also to root out this network of terrorists. I mean, if 200 people are connected to or related to this terror network, I mean, imagine the damage that they can do. It takes one of these so-called lone wolf, and we don't call them lone wolf, really, right? We've talked about this a lot on your program, where he's not alone if he's got more than 200 people in his terror network. But it just goes to say, look at how many enemies are living within one's country, and it's very, very, very prudent of the French government to take this action.
China, which is currently detaining Canadians Michael Spavor and Michael Kovrig, is now threatening to detain U.S. nationals due to the Justice Department's prosecution of Chinese military-affiliated scholars, a story that was first reported by the Wall Street Journal.
Yes, so this is a little more of that tit for tat by China, and saying, if you're going to go after our scholars and you're going to go after people who we send over, basically our spies, we're going to do the same to you. The message went out a long time ago for any Western individuals living in China to get out. That's to say, if they're working for the government, or if they're working for think tanks, if they're working in different various human rights endeavors, that they not stay there because it's not safe for them. But of course, they still exist and they're still there. And this is China, exerting itself. Every step that the United States has taken has been met with an equal, response. And this is China saying, "We'll do the same back to you."
It was a big moment last weekend as Israel and Bahrain formally declared that they've made a peace deal and established formal diplomatic relations. Lisa, this is only the fourth such agreement between the Jewish state and an Arab nation.
Yes, this is wonderful. This is what I call the real Arab Spring. And I call it that because it's Arab nations waking up to the fact that they can have a future. They don't have to be bound by or held back by the myth that peace has to come out between the Palestinians and the Israelis for them to go forward as a region. It incentivizes peace. It incentivizes business dealings. It incentivizes tourism. It's only good. It's a wake up call. And why do I call it the Arab Spring? It's because when we had the Arab Spring, we said the young people in these Arab nations want more. They want a future. They want access. They're educated. They have that smartphone that tells them that the world is a smaller place than that they've been told. And now they have access to all of that. They can have Israeli apps. They can have cell phones. They can have access to perhaps the COVID vaccine that may come from Israel, water irrigation policies, all sorts of things. So this is a win-win for both sides, and of course, the Israelis are happier than ever to finally have some semblance of peace with some of its neighbors in what has been an awfully, awfully tough neighborhood to live in. And I think that the future is bright for the Middle East. So kudos to all those parties involved.
Now, Lisa, before I let you go, how about an update as to the wildfire situation along the West Coast, especially in California, where you are?
Yes, as you know, how this has been a record-breaking year with regards to the number of acres that have been damaged and burnt down, the number of casualties, the families, homes, pets, animals, wild animals that have been truly destroyed by these wildfires. They continue in the north. Where I am, it's in Southern California. It's been much better. The air quality has also improved, but quite often we still hear about them. Just a few days ago, there was one right off the freeway, and you can smell it here. You can see it here on the horizon. There was no sunset. All you can see is this orange haze. And of course, this is something that we don't want to take our eyes off of. And I thank you, Hal, for bringing attention to it weekly. And this is, it's truly horrific. And I know you guys get some of that smoke in Canada, so it does travel up to your neck of the woods as well.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of that smoke make its way up to British Columbia and Alberta. Our foreign affairs expert, Lisa Daftari, joining me from Los Angeles. Lisa, stay safe.
Thank you.
On behalf of all of us here at Bridge City News, I'm Hal Roberts. God bless, and thanks so much for watching.